And hello YouTube, I'm back. Vehicle got pulled out. Try to get the camera here adjusted. Alright, we are leaving the park. I did tip the guy, even though he was like an hour late. Still, you know, the hard-working guy. These are the people who actually are like unsung heroes. You know, tow truck drivers, mechanics, plumbers, basically people you encounter in daily life. And I think that, you know, sometimes, and I do believe cops and stuff are heroes, cops and doctors and people like those, but don't the little guy, you know, the guy that's even serving hamburgers or stocking toilet paper, who they did during the toilet paper shortage of 2020, you know, had memes that he was a hero. But you forget people like the tow truck driver who rescue you when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, even though this spot wasn't too bad. But I was having a discussion about the homeless situation that's about to hit in America, and unless the government, the people in Congress, the president, and everybody else that's in a position of power really do something right now, this is gonna suck after the elections, after New Year's, you know, after December, because the people who own the property and stuff, they're still required to make payments and stuff, but they're being told you can't force people out. You can't force people out of your property, which is already messed up. There's like no clauses and stuff set aside for them to be reimbursed by the government, who is forcing the situation, saying they can't collect money. Meanwhile, the people who have the delay, they say, this is what, I didn't read the whole thing, I just glanced over it real quick, but I'm like, this is bogus. It said you're supposed to try to make the maximum payment that you can. So if you can pay money, you're supposed to try to pay as much as you can, and if you can't, then don't pay anything. But either way, both of you are going to be saved from eviction. Okay? So the person who pays, okay, and the person who don't pay are treated the same. The problem is this: when December hits, are they going to require everybody to pay all the 5, 6, 7 months of missing payments? People aren't going to be able to make that up. That's a lot of money, you know, depending on where you live and stuff. But if I take Florida figures, even a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment is like $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Multiply that by 7 or 8 months, and you got like $10,000, close to $10,000. People aren't going to be able to just suddenly come up with $10,000 when they were on the verge of becoming homeless. I don't know. You know, I don't know. The only thing I know is from watching the behavior of the people in government and stuff, is that they have a huge disconnect with the people they're supposed to be representing. Like they had that session where they were trying to figure out if they were going to extend the CARES Act. They didn't act. They all went home for the holidays or for the weekend or whatever, for a whole week or two. Come back and resume and still can't figure it out. And then this whole thing with what ended up getting passed by President Trump was not even a mandate, but a suggestion for companies to stop withholding Social Security taxes and stuff, basically taxes, to stop temporarily. It's still due. It'll be due at the end of the year after after the election's over. So the people who think they're getting money right now, yeah, because they're working and they're going to get like a little bit of extra money, you know, maybe like, if you're like me, you might see a whole whopping $15 to $20 a week more than normal. Like, you're even going to notice that. But what's going to happen is, come tax season, they're going to try to claim it all back. I'm going to have to pay like an extra large tax because it's still there. It's just not being pulled out right now. And then the other concern is for the employers who are expected, if the employers opt to follow the guidance of the president, then they will not be collecting, well, they don't have to pay the taxes either, so it looks good for them for now. But what happens if you quit your job or get fired before the end of the year? What happens is the tax becomes short, and they'll probably go after the companies to make up the difference. The employee would skip town. Either way, you're going to get less than a 600, even probably less than 300 or 400 a month, in tax savings. But it's not in savings because it's just delayed. It's the same with the house. Everything is like for fake. It's just for looks, just to look good. And for people who aren't looking at what's actually happening. It's like me saying, hey, guys, I'm gonna let you eat the food here for free, but before you leave the door, you have to pay up before you leave the restaurant. You have to pay everything, plus interest. And if you can't pay, we're gonna chop your hands off. That, and you still have to pay. We're gonna chop your hands off and put you in jail until you pay. So, it's like an illusion. But I was looking at the numbers, and those numbers they were saying right now the crisis is affecting 20 to 40 million Americans. But those are the people who aren't yet homeless. If you have been traveling around, and I know some viewers had commented that they were going through different cities, and it was very depressing because homeless camps have popped up everywhere. And this was a couple years back when I was on my honeymoon with my wife to California and stuff. Holy schmoly, people were camped out on the sidewalks. And that was what was crazy about it was like in Beverly Hills. It was like right outside Beverly Hills. They can't camp in Beverly Hills because, that's a rich area and the police would chase them out. But right outside of Beverly Hills is like Hollywood. That's where they were all camping, was on Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood Boulevard, which is a huge tourist attraction, has people camping out there on the sidewalks. Not on the main strip where the tourist spot is, but just around the corner, several blocks away. And then half those people who are camping there, they're working. They may be the people that you see putting on the costumes and stuff, acting like Superman or Spider-Man and whatnot on the boulevard, trying to get money from the tourists. I guess you can almost call them panhandlers, but they're not. They're actually trying to earn money by posing for pictures and stuff. But then you see the panhandlers and stuff too. I suppose panhandling is working, But the people who have money always tell these other people, get a job. Stop being a loser. And it just shows me you have a huge disconnect. You really don't understand what's going on. We're talking people that had jobs, that had good jobs, some of them were engineers, and they can't get a job now. They can't even get a basic job. If you're looking at, like, you say, well, Walmart's hiring, they're not hiring full time, and they're only hiring a certain amount, and they're hiring certain groups. So, like, there's an incentive for Walmart to hire people who have disabilities, and even older people and females. So if you don't notice, if you haven't been paying attention, just go into any Walmart and look at the people that are actually working there, and what you're going to see is somebody who's a senior citizen, lots of women, and some people who seem like they may not be all there. Okay? That's because Walmart gets money from the government for every one of these checklist things that people fall under. So if you're somewhat okay, you're not like all messed up, but you don't have like any skills, it's even hard to get a labor type job now. And if you do get it, it's going to be a temporary situation. But we're talking about 20 to 40 million people, which means we're probably talking, and these people live in houses right now. So these people are already have more money than the people I'm talking about. They actually own a house. Well, don't own a house. You never really own the house. You might have a mortgage on the house, which is really bad. And even if you have it paid off and you think you're in the free and clear, once they start jacking up the taxes and raising all these other fees and taxes and crazy stuff on it, it could get to the point where you can't afford it. You know, it takes a slip up, you know? Like I can see, this is what I can see, just to give you a scenario that I see happening, that could, and most likely has happened and is happening. Let's suppose somebody is rich enough that they have a house that, you know, they're paying, it's a nice house, so they're paying $6,000 a month on this house. It is an absolutely gorgeous house. They're paying $6,000 a month. And you're like, wow, these people are rich. Sort of. They were pretty smart when they had money. They bought all this property, but they didn't have enough cash to buy it outright. So they tried to use their money to make more money. So when they had some cash, they bought more property. They bought cheaper houses that they're renting out to the poor folks. So these houses they're renting out for $2,000 a month. Okay? Well, those are the people right now that can't pay the $2,000 a month. And what they were doing is, like, let's say they had 3 houses that they were renting out. So they're really rich. They have a nice mansion type house. You know, they have 3 huge properties that are in decent neighborhoods. They're renting them out at $2,000 each month. That and then, you know, so they get $5,000 they use to pay their mortgage, and then they get $1,000 left over for spending money or whatever, or savings or whatever, or just fun money. So they're living scot-free pretty much, you know, because they have been smart enough to buy all this property. But because of COVID-19 and people not having money, regardless of people saying, well, the economy is great, they're just shutting things down, it doesn't really matter at this point. Those people that used to live there, that used to pay $2,000 a month, they're not able to pay it right now. And the people that used to collect $6,000 a month, to put $5,000 a month towards their payment, they're not able to do it either. So what's going to happen is, it's like domino effect. It's going to all, like, it's falling down. You know, it's trickling from the bottom up. They said that, you know, the way the system was set up, it was supposed to trickle, the wealth was supposed to trickle from the top down, but that's not happening. What's happening is poverty is trickling up from the poor up. So even those people who have the nice house that they pay $5,000-$6,000 mortgage on, they're going to be affected by all this, if they're not already. Like right now, those people probably aren't able to collect rent on their property, you know, and they are expected, because they have money in their bank accounts, because they were smart, they had savings, they're expected to make the payment from their savings, even though they got no more income coming in. Tell me how that's right. And you're like, well, that's just how things are. No, that's how things are being set up by the government. And that's messed up. Well, you know, Pack Live or Live says that, you know, no more opportunities in America. They wanted a wall to keep people out of America. People are building walls by not letting Americans go to their country now. Nobody wants to come here. You know, nobody wants to come here anymore. And some of you are like, that's great. You might think it's great, but it's why your economy is failing. You know, there's a lot of places like Florida that are almost totally dependent upon tourism. Without any tourists, there goes all those jobs, there goes all the mortgage payments. That's what's happening. As they shut the world down, there's a Scooby-Doo truck. I'm going to show it to you guys up front here. There's a Scooby-Doo truck I'm following. But it's a business. Let me try to show it here. It's a Scooby-Doo East Coast Irrigation and Landscape truck. But they painted it to look like the Scooby... I think it's a Scooby-Doo truck. It looks like Scooby-Doo paint job. Or at least a 70s hippie paint job. So, you know... Wow, did you see that? Water effect. Alright. Who needs a wall to separate your country from other invaders, people trying to sneak in when nobody wants to come in right now? I don't think anyone's going to want to come in anymore after seeing the fiasco that is 2020 in America. You know, I don't see any safety nets being built right now. Here's what I see as a problem, okay? We know, we're fairly certain that here in the next 5-6 months, we're going to get influx of homeless unless something is done dramatically for the people about to lose their residence. That means that unless you're willing to just wave all this money, magically go away, which I don't think they're doing, because I haven't seen them do that now. It's been 7 months. They didn't magically make money go away. They just said you owe more. You know? So what's going to happen? All these people are going to become homeless, and there's nothing set up, which they should be setting up right now. There are some places in California, they had already started to set this up, not because of coronavirus, but because they were some of the first places to experience mass homelessness. All sorts of crazy stuff there, even before coronavirus. And they had started to set up parking zones because they know that it's better, even though it's messed up. To me, it's messed up that a first world country like America is at the point where the people here are living in vans and living in cars, not by choice. Some are doing it by choice because they want to travel. You know, like young yuppie kids and stuff like that. They're able to do it for fun. But a lot of the people I see on this channel, and even just looking around, they're not doing it by choice. They're doing it by necessity. They're having to live in a van or live in an RV, or try to live in a van and RV. But society as a whole still doesn't see them. It's acting like they don't really exist. Let's pretend that people aren't really homeless, that there's not really a crisis happening right now, that the people you see, the family of 4 or 5 living in that little station wagon or that van or that car, they're the exception to the rule. They're the ones who are lazy and don't want to work. But when you have a number as large as an influx that's coming in of 20 to 40 million, you're not going to be able to deny it. And not only going to not be able to deny it, those people were the people that were paying taxes for your government to operate. The government doesn't make money, it taxes its people. And it's supposed to be using that money to help the people. But I don't see that happening. The money is being funneled to special interests. So that is messed up. And all these people that are about to become homeless, I don't know what's going to happen. There is no, the middle class is like deteriorating, not slowly. It's like a, what do they call it? Like a avalanche. It's happening instantaneously. The system that was supposed to be in place to protect the people is not there. And it's scary because this isn't like some third world country. This is the United States. And as I was saying earlier, you know, some of you watching were saying that the foreigners, the people in other countries, are laughing at America. We're laughing stocks. But my friends overseas are not laughing. They're all crying. They're crying because they're sad for the United States. But not only that, you know, everybody is kind of self-centered to an extent. The United States used to be, like I said, you know, the equivalent of like Superman. We were seen by other countries as a superhero that believed in truth, justice, and the American way, and would come in and save everybody from the bad guys. The problem is, those countries, they still have bad guys, and they still have all these bad things. And America is no longer available as Superman. Why? Because America didn't respond appropriately, and they're all watching, and their country, which they considered to have issues, suddenly look very good. Their country has responded better, and it's a third world nation. Okay, that's what's scary about it. And, you know, for me, it's just sad because it's stuff that doesn't have to happen, and I'm watching it happening right now, live, real time, and I'm like, why are they not responding? Why is the government simply pretending it doesn't exist and that there's really no problem? The government is acting like this is all going to magically go away after elections. And then some people are saying, well, it's all fake. After the elections, it's not going to go away. I don't think you bring back all those hundreds of thousands of dead people. And you're about to have 40 to 50 million people more become homeless. You got riots right now. And you got people hating the police, whom, by the way, even though some people think I'm anti-cop, I'm actually for the cop. I'm pro-cops, just not pro-bad cops. I'm not pro-cops that go around abusing their power and beating people for no reason, really, or going after the homeless without any heart, because the same cops could end up homeless now here very soon, you know, because society is shifting, and money that was coming in from the people who were paying rent and stuff because of taxes, property taxes and everything else, those are disappearing. So do I have a solution? Not really, other than, well, I do have a solution, but they're not going to listen to me. But maybe out there, if there are local government people, you know, local people that you have, like local cops and stuff sometimes watch. But if they're in any position, like with city hall, cities and counties and stuff like that, I would recommend that you quickly set up camps. And what I mean by camps is kind of like the park that I'm at right now with the RV, which I'm paying for, okay? So I'm paying this and still paying taxes, paying everything. They had the rental fee, and I had to pay a tax on top of that. Tax was like, I don't know, more than $60-something a month in taxes to be here, okay? So that's what's paying your salary, okay, and your wages and stuff. But all the people here who are camping are doing that because we're still not unemployed, still working, still have some money coming in, still able to maintain somewhat normalcy on this end. But there's a lot of people that can't do that right now. And these were people who were at one time paying taxes, paying your salary. If you're a public, call yourself a public servant, whether you be a cop, a mayor, a governor, okay, a lawmaker. If you're truly a public servant, as what you're supposed to be, then these people that you're shitting on, okay, that you need to leave, those are the people that were paying your salary, okay? You get rid of them, you pretty much have them die off, you have no salary. You're going to become one of them. And I know some of the really rich people, the ones in government that are really high up, they think they're safe. But as somebody was saying, civil war is about to happen. You know, that's why you have all these protests. And people say, well, the protesters are just crazy. The protesters originally started off with, I think, bending the knee. That wasn't violent, you know, and look what happened. Nothing happened. They got made fun of, but people were still getting killed. So, you know, when you protest peacefully and there's no response, you end up escalating it. Then you start saying, well, they started doing all this bad stuff. I don't think protesting, honestly, at a time like this is a good idea. It's pretty ridiculous because the country's falling apart. But the problem, the reason they're protesting is the people who are supposed to be taking care of them, the people they pay the taxes to, the people they give the badge to and the guns, you know, to protect people with, they're not doing their jobs. And as long as that continues to persist, the people are taking to the streets and doing what they have to do. And it just doesn't look good. It looks very bad. You know, when you talk about the president hiding underneath the bunker because of the protesters, the president, picture this, okay? The president of the United States of America has built a barricade around the White House. I know this sounds like a cartoon or something fake, but this is real. The president of the United States is scared of the American people. He said, no, not the American people. I'm only scared of the Democrats, the Democrats, because those people are not Americans. This is the leader of the nation, okay? I don't know what to do. I know what a leader is and what a leader isn't. And if you're scared of the people that you're supposed to be ruling over, to the point where you're building barricades and hiding, and then trying to get rid of them by not providing aid, okay, like California is not getting a lot of aid, and other places that say they won't comply with the non-mandatory, masks. Like they're trying to force mandatory masks because those governors or whatever felt that they needed to do what they need to do to protect their people, the people that they have been elected to protect. When you don't send aid because of political reasons, I don't think you're being a leader. Okay, you're I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just shake my head and I cry not because the president, has policies and stuff I don't agree with, but because this nation has it's lost its mind. You're out and you're saying, I read on my Facebook feed, I started blocking a lot of these, not really blocking the people because they're still friends. Honestly, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, they don't know me. They could probably care less other than wanting my vote, okay? They could give a shit about me. They don't know me. They eat like $1,000 dinners, when they have their fundraisers and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I see all their ads begging me for money. I'm like, dude, you live in a fucking mansion. I'm living in a van. Well, now I'm living in an RV. But, but you're living in a fucking mansion and you're asking me for money. And then I see my Facebook friends, some of them are in bad positions too, posting and sharing that and donating money to them. I'm like, are you crazy? These people don't need your money. They're rich. You say, well, they need the money to win. No, they need your vote, which they already have. Evidently, if you're a Trump supporter, no matter what, you're going to support him. And if you're a Joe Biden supporter, no matter what, you're going to support him. So where the hell's all this money going? Thank goodness for YouTube revenues. I've noticed a lot of political ads running on all the videos. So, so it's going to YouTubers and it's going to everywhere else making money on this. So that's kind of helpful to an extent. At least it helps me a little bit. But honestly, at this stage right now, the people have already decided. And I still look at my friends and I'm like, I can't believe, and it's not just friends, some of them are family. Like real family, not just like people that you call family, but related relatives. And they still support Donald Trump. And I look at them and I'm like, they must be in a completely different world than me, and they can vote whoever they want. I just don't see how they can support what's happening and not see what's happening. But then some of those people that I'm seeing, they still have a home. It looks like they're not going to get evicted. They're in a financially stable position. And then I see them distorting stuff. Well, not so much distorting, like they want to show this graph that says, look, COVID is only really responsible for 6% of the deaths that are attributed to COVID. So only 6% of the people actually were healthy and then got COVID and then couldn't breathe. The other people had like asthma, or they had diabetes, or they had HIV, or they had whatever they had, okay? And then when they had coronavirus, it made it so that, they ended up getting pneumonia or whatever. So the real cause of death is pneumonia, not COVID. Even though they didn't have the pneumonia and they were okay until the COVID came and infected them and made them weak so that they, within 10 days, had pneumonia. And they were listed as a COVID death because COVID was the trigger, but because they officially died, because COVID didn't really kill anyone, honestly. If you're dying because you can't breathe, that's not COVID. You're dying from, asphyxiation? Yeah, asphyxiation. I can't even say stuff with the missing teeth. This sucks. But if you're dying because you can't breathe, that has nothing to do with COVID. The virus doesn't make it so you can't breathe. It only, makes it so your lungs clog up and clump up. But that's not the virus. That's just you having a shortness of breath. But what I'm saying is, you can sit here and say that the hundreds of thousands here in this country didn't die of COVID because they already had pre-existing issues and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, many of those people wouldn't be dead right now if it had not been for the COVID situation. And COVID is killing people indirectly. Some of it's not even showing up with COVID death. Like, for example, suicides. I think there's no way to prove that somebody committed suicide because of COVID. Okay? So they will be listed as suicide, but any of you who are human like me right now, you're probably fighting depression every day. You're actively choosing to fight depression. You know, I'm finding myself wanting to sleep all the time. And I'm like, I'm depressed. I'm depressed because everything I try to do right now involves agencies like the government, the county, the school board, the police, all these agencies, and they're all having all these weird issues with coronavirus and COVID, and half of them are shut down, phones aren't being answered, calls aren't being returned. You know, trying to do basic stuff that you need to do is becoming very hard to do. And it's very depressing. So that's why you saw me, if you were watching the other live streams, get stuck in mud. I'm trying to do something that gives me a little bit of joy, a little bit of peace, a little bit of connecting with nature and forgetting all this bullshit. Because that's what it really is. It's mostly bullshit. You know, trying to forget all this stuff for at least a little bit. Because I have to deal with it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And this is going to be an ongoing thing for I don't know how long. So I guess my tip in all of this is this. One, if you're finding yourself hating your friends, your family, your relatives because they're supporting Donald Trump or they're supporting Joe Biden or whatever, one, know that you've already been manipulated. Because I can tell you, matter of fact, unless you're actually Donald Trump's daughter or son or whatever, or son-in-law, he didn't give a shit about you, okay? He doesn't. He just wants your vote. He doesn't give a shit about you. And unless you're related to Joe Biden or Camilla and all these other people, they don't give a shit about you either. Okay? They just want your vote so they can win, so then they can do whatever their policies is and stuff that they want to do. Now, I know, you know, I already know who I'm voting for, and most of you can probably tell who I'm voting for, but I've already decided. So all these ads and all this hate shit that's being spewed on social media is doing nothing but actually creating the civil war that's about to happen. People are unfriending their relatives and their family members. These are people who actually cared about you and were there or could have been there to help you, your support network. And you're unfriending them because for some reason they keep posting lies, they keep sharing misinformation, or they keep wanting you to vote their way. When somebody just texted me about absentee voting. I don't know but you can see what the problem is, okay? You're letting the political people who really don't give a shit about you, they don't really know you, affect your personal relationships with your family and friends. I just lost, my wife just lost her cousin who was young, was in his 50s, due to COVID, okay? So I'm telling you right now, if you're getting friends and stuff that continually send that stuff, but you still do consider them a friend, even though you're hating them right now, because that's the environment that's been created on social media for you to fall into. They're trying to turn everyone into zombies, that you're either far right or far left. There's no in between anymore, okay? What I'm telling you is, don't be a zombie and just follow these brainless people, these people who are treating you like brainless. They're just inundating you with all this bullshit on social media. And they're using your friends against you. They're using your friends to post this kind of stuff. So I'm telling you, if you're my friend, stop posting that bullshit. You know, I don't want to see this shit all the way through to November, December, or whatever. We're at September. We still got freaking October, all of September, October, and November. 3 more months of this bullcrap, with my news feed being filled with Donald Trump is a liar, Biden is a liar, Bill Gates is a liar. I don't really care for all that crap, okay? I want to know how you and your family are doing, how you guys are coping, and that you're okay. That's all I really care about. You're not going to convince me to suddenly magically vote for Donald Trump. I don't like the guy. I don't like his policies. I don't like what's happened to this country, okay? But that's me. If you want to vote for him because you agree with him, that's fine. But don't shove my Facebook with all this crap. I've tried to remove that stuff too. I'm trying not to post that stuff. I do post some stuff that I think can make a political difference, like the schools opening early, because my son's life was in line, in jeopardy. And like I told him, I said, look, I would rather you flunk a year and be alive than go and potentially get coronavirus and spread it. You either die or get sick, or you give it to your parents, your mother, me, your sister. And sure enough, school here has opened like 2 days, and they've already had a whole bunch of cases. I don't know if they've shut any schools down. I'll have to follow up on it in Brevard County. But when they opened the school, as soon as they did that, hundreds of new cases, because all it takes is one going there and it's spread. And you're like, well, how do they know so fast? The virus kicks in really fast. It's like, I think when you get exposed to it, within a day or two, you start to show the symptoms. It's that fast. And then within 10 to 15 days, you could be dead. That's how fast it moves. So somebody could be fine and talking to you, like even me right now, and then 3 weeks later, they're dead. They're not around anymore. That's how fast that virus moves. And that's how fast you can kill it. I don't think you guys understand that. That virus has a lifespan of approximately 2 to 3 weeks. 2 weeks, usually. 2 weeks it lives, and then it dies. Unless it can spread to another host and keep spreading. So all you have to do is really, those people who still don't want to wear masks and stuff, if everybody in the world, and I don't mean just a nation, but the world, were to do it together, follow the lead of places like New Zealand, Thailand, Vietnam, even China, Japan, all the places that got hit early that are now like, it's over. Coronavirus is kind of over for them because they did what they needed. Everybody wore masks. They did the tracking that they had to do, which I think is bad. But, the fact is, right now, you can say it's fake all you want, but I have actual dead people that are in my family because of coronavirus. So, it's not fake. But I already knew that when it first hit in February. One of my coworkers said his dad, who was older, got it and died in 10 days. 10 days. And I'm still working in like a high-tech environment, and they take it seriously. And then you're listening to people on social media who barely finished high school telling you that this is all fake, a conspiracy, and you're gonna believe them, or you're gonna believe some dude on YouTube. Like I'm saying, don't you don't have to believe me and stuff, but please, play along. Didn't you ever? Did you not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in the group? Are you trying to be like the person that's taking the knee, refusing to stand up right now? I'm gonna tell you the difference, okay? You're an asshole. Because the person that wasn't standing up for the knee, for that whole, I don't even know the whole thing. I don't care about it. But they were taking the knee to protest silently an unfair situation. You're taking a protest and potentially killing people because you refuse to comply with a health situation. Taking the knee doesn't have anything to do with health, other than, possibly black people's health, them not getting killed, but my whole point about all this is you need to, and I don't think it's possible, looking at social media and looking at my friends and what they're doing, and so I'm like, the people in this country, in America, are totally self-centered. They refuse to inconvenience themselves, even for 2 or 3 weeks or a month or two or whatever that it would take to contain it. If the whole nation wore masks all at the same time, the whole thing would be over within a month because that virus would die out. It would have no way of spreading. But I don't see it happening. And I see it being politicized, being used as propaganda. I don't know if you guys knew, when I was in the Air Force, that was my job. They call it public affairs, public relations, but really it was a propaganda job. I was propaganda. Okay? So it's being used to control people, and honestly, I can tell you my own conspiracy theory, and that is this. if if you think that voting for Donald Trump or voting for Biden and stuff, that those two are really against each other, you don't understand that both of those horses in that race, there's a player that's behind them that has money on both sides. So it doesn't really matter who wins. Okay, you got Donald Trump, you got Joe Biden. Now, I lean more towards Biden and stuff because I think that Donald Trump had 4 years, and look what happened. Okay, and some of you might think because of that I'm an Obama supporter. I did, and some are going to hate me for this. I did not like Obama. I voted for him the first term because I thought he would actually change. Then he caused a lot of the stuff that I think allowed Donald Trump to win, because it really angered a lot of white people. And I'm like, change doesn't mean you piss off all the white people, especially since the white people helped to elect you. If nothing else, that should show you that white people wanted change too, but not in the way that it came. And it caused a backlash that allowed Donald Trump to become president. The second term that Obama won, I actually didn't vote because I didn't like the Republican candidate, and I still didn't like Obama. And I know it's bad because, I was engaged. My fiance at the time was actually a black woman. Yeah, I know some of you don't know that, and she was pro-Obama. The whole house had. Black folks will understand how exciting it was. I know I taught at a primarily black school at the time when Obama was elected, and we were all crying. We were all in tears because I had told my children, that I taught. Most of them were black. There were some white poor folks there too. But I taught them that, you work hard, and America is a place where you could possibly be accepted. As a black person, you had to work harder. And I know white people really don't understand. Some do. The ones who may be interracial, they have some family that's not totally white. They get to see it, but they may not even experience it. You don't really experience it unless you're like my color skin or blacker, darker, or even like the natives, the Americans and stuff, like Native Americans, the Indians. Anyone who's not like Caucasian that has lived in America any length of time knows what I'm talking about. It's like it may not be implicit, but it's there. There is a discrimination that occurs. And some people say, well, not all white people discriminate. And it's true that not all white people discriminate. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of white people who are nice, okay? I would say there's a lot of black people who aren't nice. There are a lot of black people who are freaking thugs, okay? And I saw some of them when they had me locked up, okay? But there were white people there that were thugs too, and Mexicans. Surprisingly, there weren't very many Asians. I think I was the only Asian there. But, the thing about it is, but the thing is, they listed me as a black man. I told them, hey, I'm not a black guy. I'm not a African American. They put me on the system in the computer as a black male. I was like, I'm not black. But they said it doesn't matter. But they wanted to list me as a black man instead of as an Asian man. And I'm wondering if it had to do with something with a count. Like they have a certain ratio, a quota they have to meet on how many black men they arrest a certain day or night or whatever. How many are confined and locked up. I don't know. I did know that when I talked to the people there, but maybe we won't go there, okay? Because that's just a lot of negative, bad stuff. But I got to see a lot of perspectives from the locked up black people, okay? And a lot of what they say, some of it I'm like, eh. But some of it I got to see it in action, so I'm like, maybe there's some truth to it, or maybe even partial truth for the black man, the black male. But the issue that I'm trying to point out is it really doesn't matter if you're black or white, if you consider yourself human. And there was a time when I was a child in Thailand, okay, and the people who haven't been here, but I have been here and I've been seeing it, and I've been actually in it, having to deal with it and trying to change it, and I couldn't, okay. But when I got here, I saw that America was not Superman. That it just looked like Superman to the rest of the world. So I know I have a lot of foreign visitors or watchers, viewers that watch this, and they're really in shock because now there's no hiding. I mean, it's no hiding because the president right now is bragging about it. That we're not really Superman. Matter of fact, we're the guy Superman goes after. So, the thing about it is this, okay? The real solution is for the American people to become American. And you're like, what does that mean? That means that you know what's wrong and what's right, and you stop saying that something is right because it's politically against the party that has brainwashed you. I don't really believe in the party system. And if you don't believe in the party system and you declare yourself an independent, they really punish you. Okay? I didn't know that. See, originally I'm like, well, I'm independent. I don't choose an independent candidate. I choose whether they be Democrat, Republican, independent, or whatever, based on, hopefully, they're telling the truth. Because it turns out that a lot of them, when they're on their spiel trying to get elected, they don't even tell the truth. And now they're not even held accountable. They can lie to you in your face and tell you all this stuff, and as soon as they get elected, they don't even do it. Okay? They don't even do what they promise. And then they're forgiven. It's like, so you just have to be the biggest liar, willing to lie and not even care that you're lying, and then you don't even have to be held accountable afterwards for what you promised. But people will still vote for you because next time, all you have to do is lie again because it worked the first time. But what I'm saying right now is, like when my car broke down, okay, people stopped. And if you heard the earlier broadcast, one of the people who had a conscience, because they were actually concerned that I was going to be stuck there and not be able to get out, they turned around and came back like 10, 15 minutes after they had left to check up on me and to try to see if they needed to personally get out and help me, or, they saw the ranger come by. So, and that was black people, okay? And you're like, well, the noise seems to be promoting black people. No, I'm promoting a human being, a fellow human being who had a conscience, who saw me stuck there. They could see I'm Asian. I don't know if you know, typically blacks and Asians don't get along. I know some of you don't know that. So it's very rare for blacks and Asians to get along because there's a lot of discrimination that black people have against Asians. And I know black people will deny it, although some will know I'm speaking the truth, okay, because they have preconceived notions about Asians. So I can tell you all these stereotypes and stuff, and then black people have preconceived notions about white people as well. Same as, I'm not saying that Asians don't have preconceived notions, because Asians do too. You are born genetically predisposed to liking and supporting people who look like you, and being a little bit more cautious towards people who look different. Because back in the day, and even still now to some extent, if they're different than you, their lifestyle, their beliefs may be drastically different than yours and may actually clash. Okay? But the problem you have is America is supposed to be a melting pot. When I first came to America, they had a campaign they were running. I don't know if it was politically run or if it was just the hippies. I came to America when the hippies ruled. They were preaching peace and love and harmony, okay, because they had just gotten out of a period of turmoil for the nation in the 60s. 50s and 60s were riots and craziness, much like what we see now. And then by the 70s, they were still protesting, but they were protesting as a nation, the Vietnam War. So those vets that served in the Vietnam War are still suffering because of all those protests and the anger, that the nation had towards the government. But they took it out on the soldiers, which to me is messed up. Because the soldiers were actually Americans, just like you and me, that are Americans right now. And they were trying to protect the flag and the freedom of America. And I know that you see yourself, some of you don't understand, but when America was there fighting what we considered the enemy, the communists and stuff like that, we considered them a communist threat. The countries that were trying to get away from communism, like North Vietnam or South Vietnam, part of Vietnam was basically trying to be taken over by the communists because communism was spreading. I could tell you the noise version of history, which kind of is history, but kind of my own reasoning on how things went, just based upon my analysis of the situation. So maybe we'll do a head talk episode on that, how I think we got to where we are. But the communists were seen as enemies, and I still don't really trust the communists. Okay, some people don't, the younger people especially may not understand. We never really went to war with communists. I don't know if you know that. The major world wars, they weren't communists. We were fighting fascists. We were fighting dictators. Fascism. Which is kind of what some people are accusing Donald Trump of being. A fascist. He wants to be like a king. He's not a king. And whatever he says goes. He doesn't have to go through Congress. The laws that are written doesn't matter. There are no laws. The leader rules with an iron fist. And he got there not because he has royal blood or anything, but even that whole thing with royalty and stuff. We can talk about that later. But he got there because the people put him in power, and because of that, he's like divine. He's able to, whatever he says goes. And that's what we're dealing with in our leader right now in the United States, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. But the issue with the war is this. The communists were trying to expand, and the United States was trying to contain communism because it wasn't just trying to expand, it expanded so well that many countries were choosing communism or easily being taken over by the communists. And, some Americans right now think that America is starting to become communist or socialist, okay? Because I don't know if you know what the word community, if you think about it, community, communism, community. For those of you who don't know English, those two words are the same. Okay, so the community that you live in that tries to help each other, the community that makes a playground for the kids to play in, the community that sets up a homeless shelter, those are all communistic ideals. Those are all ideas that are communist. The implementation of communism is basically communal living. Everybody shares. Okay, that's what communism is. And I think socialism is similar. Socialism, the government kind of takes control and basically takes care of its people. And those of you who hate socialism, if you like Social Security and you're on Social Security, or you like Medicaid, and you like, food stamps, okay, or unemployment checks, that's socialism, okay? That is the government basically taking care of the people that put them in power. Whereas communism is supposed to be the people taking care of each other. But, reality is, even in communism, they say the party, the people in charge, they don't treat everyone the same. They kind of bad, crooked. The people in government are treated better than the people not in the government. Even though true communism, everybody's supposed to be equal. And in socialism, the government is supposed to be there to protect the people. And what's happening right now, as far as I can see in America, is a lot of terms and stuff being thrown around and people going against people without really understanding what the term is. Like, for example, Antifa. People say, well, Antifa is bad. The United States, the Soviet Union, France, England, okay, all these countries that joined in World War II that were the Allies, that was Antifa. Antifa stands for anti-fascism, okay? And fascism, like we had said, was the leader, someone like Mussolini, okay, or Adolf Hitler, declaring themselves supreme leader. They weren't always, their family line isn't that of a king, but they want to be like a king. So they declare themselves a supreme leader, kind of like Darth Vader, even though Darth Vader is fictional. But that's what Darth Vader is like a fascist leader. So a group, that were anti-fascist, like the United States and somebody like the Soviet Union was Antifa. Yeah, the Soviet Union was part of the United States, on the side of the United States. The Soviet Union I think I can go on and talk a lot about this because I was trying to explain it to my son, based on my version of history. And it's kind of how things went down because where I'm working right now, we deal with rocket ships. And we rely on the Soviet Union, the Russian, not the Soviet Union. Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. But we rely on the Russians, or we did for a while, and we still do to the most part, to get people up to the space station and to get spaceships and do things in space right now. Because the Russians are the only ones with the capability right now of doing that. Although the Chinese are catching up. And supposedly China has landed on the moon, okay? For those of you who don't know, the Chinese put a spaceship and landed a lunar module on the moon through their own spaceships. But the reason the United States and the Russians are tied in together is the Nazis. Yeah, believe it or not. The Nazis, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, were like the Borg. If you guys watch Star Trek, you know what the Borg are, right? They absorbed everything. They're like, we're going to absorb all culture and everything and take the best. We take what we believe is the best for that culture and we're going to absorb it and use it. It becomes us. It becomes we. It becomes we are able to do it. So what Hitler did, and some people thought he was like a psychopath and stuff, but some people admire him, is he would look for things that he thought would allow him, give him a huge advantage or whatever, and he saw things unconventionally, okay? Like, he felt that they could create technology that used the air, or airspace, and use that to his advantage because it would allow him to cover greater distances and stuff. And if you put, like, bombs on there, then you don't even need aircraft. You could send them across the world to hit your enemies. That meant that your nation, even though you're in one little section of the world, could rule the whole world because no matter where everybody else was, you could hit them with a bomb. Okay? So they had a lot of scientists that were working on these things called rockets. Missiles. Okay? So the Germans were working on this technology. So they had their Luftwaffe, the bombs, the airplanes that went and dropped bombs, but they had like secret programs where their top scientists were building missiles, rocket ships, missiles that could carry stuff up into the upper atmosphere, into space, and then come back down. Well, when the war ended and the United States won, the United States, we're not doing the Denoy full version, just a shortened version, but the United States won. It was one of the last remaining superpowers that still had its military pretty much intact. But there was another military power that was still very strong, and that was the Soviet Union. Okay? So these two superpowers, because all the Europeans who used to be major powers, even though they were small countries like England, they were superpowers before. But after World War II, they were decimated. Their armies were gone. Their factories were gone. They needed help from the United States to rebuild. The United States and the Soviet Union stepped in because they were the two biggest countries that were left. I don't know why China didn't step in because China wasn't involved. China was actually fighting the Japanese, but they weren't involved in European war. They were on the Pacific side. But, and I could tell you sad stories about China and what happened to the Chinese that a lot of Westerners don't know, but I know because my Japanese friend told me because he felt guilty. But I'll save that story for another time. But when the United States and the Soviet Union defeated the Germans, they didn't execute all the Nazis. They weren't stupid. They're like, the Nazis had some really good ideas, and not only did they have good ideas, they had some really brilliant scientists. These scientists are able to make something leave the Earth's atmosphere and get up into a place called outer space. So they divvied up the Nazis. They took the Nazi scientists and basically gave them an ultimatum. You could come to our, they split them up right in half. Half went to the Soviet Union and half went to the United States. And those scientists were basically, I guess, told, you can either become, like on the American side, you can either become American citizens and we will treat you like royalty. You can live in fancy mansions and whatever you want you can have. and you can continue your research, or we can execute you. Well, you know what all the rocket scientists decided to do. So, the Nazis became Americans, just like that. That's how fast they can do it. The government has that power. They can convert a Nazi to a U.S. citizen, just like that. So, those Nazis became the core of the United States space program. And the other half went to the Soviet Union. So they became the core of the Soviet space program. And that's why, if you were following like the space shuttle, remember when the United States shuttle, the Enterprise and stuff was shown? And then a few years later, they showed the Russian one. The Russians had a space shuttle that didn't really work so well, but it looked a heck of a lot like the American space shuttle. People were like, the Russians stole the American design. That's what I thought as a kid. But as I grow up and realize the history of it, they were probably already working on that under Hitler. I don't know. They were working on it because the design for the two were actually the same. The space shuttle for the American side and the Soviet Union was actually the same spacecraft. And it wasn't because the Russians stole it from the Americans. It was because the scientists that were involved were the same group. They were split in half. Anyhow, I'm rambling, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off and go try to chill, take a shower and chill, because it's been kind of stressful being stuck in the mud. But it at least gave me 3 videos to broadcast, and hopefully gave you guys some food for thought. And whether you're supporting Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever, my advice is unfollow the people on Facebook that are posting stuff that's aggravating you and agitating you when they're your friends. But really reassess why you're following these people and continuing to try to promote them. I'm not going to promote really Joe Biden or Donald Trump, because I know at this point the people are hardcore. You're either going to vote for or against at this point. I don't think there's any ability to turn your mind unless, something drastic happens, like the person you're living with, whatever, dies suddenly because of policies made by somebody. Then you might suddenly have a change of tune. But your friend on Facebook is not going to change it with a posting with a graphic that says that so-and-so's a liar, okay? So try not to post those things, because all they're doing is just agitating people and making hate, and really, you're just a puppet. And in honest truth, from my side, from my conspiracy side, I don't even think really it matters, because there's a third party that you're not looking at that actually owns both parties, owns Joe Biden and owns Donald Trump. And if you keep the people thinking that those two are actually the ones that are causing whatever happens, there's actually a higher power up that's causing the problems that you're seeing. So, it's like a magician. They distract you. They want you to look somewhere, but not where the real action's happening. And if people would stop hating one another and attacking the police and attacking citizens and burning stores down and stuff like that, you might look at the real problem. The real problem isn't the police. The real problem isn't the store owners. The real problem isn't the protesters, okay? The real problem are the ones who are pulling the strings. So keep that thought in mind. If change is going to have to happen, it's going to have to happen at that level, because as long as you're just putting a different puppet there, it's still being pulled. Strings are still being pulled. The problem's never going to go away. So take care, everyone. God bless you all. Please stay safe. And if I suddenly disappear, well, then you know what happened.